On episode 298 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we take it back to the streets as part 4 of a 5-part wellness roadmap series. If you haven't listened to the first 3 parts, I strongly encourage you to go back and listen to them in order. This will all make a lot more sense to you if you listen to the series in sequence. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/298.
Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go.
Hello. Thank you for being a part of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, and welcome to part 4 of the Wellness Roadmap series. So as we started this series, we got into the GPS, which is basically about setting your goals, setting what you want to accomplish in this thing, a vision, a commitment, and getting that all lined up for you and making sure that this is going to work for you and this is what you're going to do. And then starting the journey, we get into the acronym STREETS. And so with STREETS, we're talking about strategy, training, rest, which we covered in the last episode. And today we're going to cover energy, education, time, and stress management. So let's jump in. Now, when I talk about energy, there's kind of 2 things that I'm talking about with energy. Okay, the first is hydration, and that's making sure you're getting plenty of good water. And then the other is nutrition. And so I want to talk about that for just a minute. I'm not going to go too deep because those are topics that entire books are written on. And I've done quite a few episodes on nutrition. So just take your pick, whichever suits you. But as we talk about water, a lot of us go through life fairly much dehydrated. We're not drinking enough water on a day-to-day basis. We're drinking other beverages. And those other beverages aren't necessarily going to help us along our path, particularly if they're sugar-based beverages or fruit juices. Definitely not going to help us along our path for weight loss and good health. So making sure that we're getting plenty of good water, and there's been a lot of talk about the different types of water, whether you want alkaline, whether you want it to go through a process, spring water versus bottled water. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you. Just to say is figure out what makes the most sense for you, and then stick with that. I tend to go for the spring water. To me, that's going to be about as clean as it needs to be for my body. If I don't have spring water, I will go ahead and buy the normal filtered water. But in a general sense, I typically just go with spring water, and that's good enough for me. I don't need the iodized, spun, whatever stuff they want to do, what they call structured. I don't need to go quite that far with all this. But for me personally, I just go with spring water and making sure that you're getting plenty of it. You'll know your urine will be clear. You'll feel better. You'll feel energized when you're well hydrated. And then finally, nutrition. Now, there's tons of experts out there that are going to tell you this is the best way, that's the best way. All those experts have their points, their valid points. Should you go keto? Should you go vegetarian? Should you go paleo? What about this diet? What about that diet? In reality, I think they can all work for different people. And some of them will work for me and some of them will not. And you have to just kind of make your picks on what you want to do. Now, the one thing that most experts do agree on is that the quality of your food does matter. So, a carb is not a carb is a carb. I mean, if you're eating an apple, you're getting nutrients from that apple that you're not going to get from a Twinkie. So, there is a food quality issue. So most experts will agree you should generally avoid the processed foods. You should avoid the high fructose corn syrups. You should avoid certain oils. But then from there, there's a lot of divergence on how people want to go with nutrition. And much like people say, what's the best exercise? And a lot of experts will say it's the one you want to do. It's the one you keep doing. Food's the same way. If you're going to choose an eating plan, you're going to choose a way of eating, then I would say pick one that's going to work, that you can stick to, and go with that. For a lot of people, getting into ketosis is very, very difficult, and they just don't want to go through that effort. You don't have to. Find an eating plan that works for you, and then make that work. So when we talk about energy, making sure you're getting the right kinds of foods, that you're fueling your body, you're thinking of food as the fuel source it is, and not just something that you do mindlessly. So recognizing that as your energy. So water and food, those are your energy sources, and you need to get good quality. Okay, next is education. You're listening to this podcast, which tells me that you are someone that's interested in learning more about health and fitness, and that's good. I would just say, as you kind of go through this, recognize that I'm going to bring on guests, and I do this on purpose. I bring on guests that don't always agree. I will bring on plant-based people. I will bring on keto people. I will bring on people that, say a lot of other things, and I don't always agree with them, but I feel like it's information that I should share with you so that you can at least understand what their position is and make a decision for yourself. So when you're talking about your health and what you're eating and how you're doing different things, recognize that you might need to experiment on yourself. You're not a part of any of the other health experiments that are out there. So when someone says, 83% of the people get results with this, you might be in that 17% that don't. I don't know. You have to do that work for yourself to understand what works for you. So, where I like to have a fan on for the white noise to make sure that I'm getting good sleep. You might not be able to sleep with a fan. I like to go to bed at 8:30 and wake up at 4 o'clock. You might not like to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So just recognize that you're going to want to take the time to self-experiment and find out what actually does work for you. And we're going to talk about time in a minute, but this is an aspect of that. It's just recognize there's no one size fits all here. There's no one set of rules and say, if you do this, then that will happen. The human body is much too complex for that. So just understanding that as you take the time to learn what works for you and what doesn't, it's an experiment. Now, from a fitness perspective, there are some pretty much some givens that you can expect. And I'll say, if you start lifting weights and you use bad form, you will eventually break your body. If you're not getting adequate rest between workouts, you will eventually break your body. If you don't know your own physical limitations and you push past those limitations too often, you will break your body. So taking the time to find the right form, do the right reps and sets, and take your time and doing things right, making sure you're getting recovery, and then recognizing the response that your body gives you. So maybe the first couple times you start this workout program, you're getting terrible, terrible DOMs. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, it's a thing. It's not good or bad. It's just a response that your body's having to the exercise you're doing. The one thing I can tell you about DOMs is if you just go ahead and get your normal recovery in, you're going to be able to come back and work out just as hard as you did before. And eventually your body's going to respond by not going into that shock mode. You're not going to feel that every single time you work out. It's going to take a little while, but once you get past it, you'll just know that you're able to do those workouts without having so much of the pain. Now, if you change up your program regularly, you may come back and have another experience of DOMs, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. So kind of recognizing that, educating yourself and kind of understanding what's happening and why it's happening, taking the time to know good form. Education is a big part of this. And again, I'm very, very happy that you're here listening to this podcast, because it tells me you are someone who wants to be better educated about health and fitness. The next one on our streets is called time. Now, I used to call this the 3 Ps, and I still do. I'm still going to go through these 3 Ps, but there is a 4th P that I've now added to the mix. So we'll talk about the 3 Ps. The first is patience. We are over 40. We probably didn't start putting on weight last year. This is not weight we gained in a month. So it's not going to be weight we can lose in a month. There's going to have to be an aspect of patience as we train our body, as we change our lifestyle, as we make these strategic efforts to move toward our vision. It's going to take some time for us to get there. We can show periods of great progress, but we have to have the patience to realize that that's not linear. It's going to happen as it happens, and we just need to keep at it. So the second one is persistence. If we remain persistent. We know what we're doing is the right thing. So we've taken the time to educate ourselves. We're working on having good energy. We're getting good sleep. All the things we want to have. We're doing all of those things right. It's going to come. We just have to stick with it and keep pushing through. Now, the last one is progression. If you do the same workout with the same weights every single day, you're not going to get any stronger. You're not going to get any weaker, but you're not going to get any stronger. So if you want to get stronger, you have to push yourself. You have to progress. If you want to get faster in your runs, you have to push yourself. You have to progress. So having the patience to know that it's going to take a little while, having the persistence to keep at it each day, each week, each month, and then pushing for progress, making each workout matter, pushing to that line and working and pushing yourself. That progression over time is going to add up and give you the results that you're after. Now, the fourth P is the plateau. Now, a plateau is almost a given for every single one of us. Our bodies love to be in homeostasis. It just loves to find that balance point. So our body's constantly looking to make all this stuff balance out. And if you start losing weight, your body's going to look for ways for you to start keeping that. They're like, oh my, we want to keep that. We don't want to lose that. We like that. And so while you might not like it, your body wants to find that balance point. So there are going to be points in time when the weight just isn't coming off. There's going to be points in time when your 3-mile run speed is just not going up. There's going to be times when you're under the weight and you just want to do 5 more pounds on the bench and you just can't get it done. It's just not coming. Those are normal aspects of life. That's the normal aspect of your body trying to reach a balance point. And for me, there's 2 things that you can consider as you face a plateau. One is, do you alter your strategy? So you reevaluate your strategy and say, is this strategy the right strategy to push me past this point? Or do I need to mix things up? So maybe I've been doing 5x5s on my workouts and I'm not getting any stronger. So I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop down to sets of 3, and I'm going to do an additional 2 sets. So instead of doing 5x5, I'm going to do 7x3. It's a little less volume, but it's heavier weights as I drop down from 5 reps to 3 reps. So kind of thinking in terms of what are some things that I can do to break through a strength plateau, that would be one of the things that I would consider if I think my 5x5 strategy is just not going to get me there. Otherwise, I apply the 3 things: the patience, the persistence, and the progression. And I just keep pushing. That will get me through my plateaus. I just have to know that plateaus are a part of it. The next one is stress management. So this is the final one. So we talk about stress, and I just had Craig on last week. So if you haven't listened to Craig Brockschmidt in Solving Stress, it's probably one of the best episodes I've done on stress management in a long time. But it's a great episode. It's a great book, Solving Stress. As you kind of get into this, recognize that stress is a part of life. And we can talk about there being good stresses and bad stresses, but the overall reality of it is today most of us live in a state of chronic stress, and that is something that's going to hold us back. I know for me personally, if there's been one thing that has really been a problem for my health and fitness, it has been stress. And then lately going through kind of a life change, I'm still kind of in a stressed mode, but I'm slowly letting that go. Some of those are from the tools that Craig teaches, but for me, it's taking time, it's breathing, it's movement, it's just doing the things that are necessary to make my body more resilient and to let go of the things that I can't control and focus on those things that I can. And so, that is in essence making sure that I don't let stress hurt me more than it needs to. And if I can keep that under control, again, that kind of makes this whole path easier. I'm not going to stress out. I'm going to just keep on the path. So as we kind of go back, I want to recap the streets part of this, because I do think it's very, very important for you to, to kind of think about each one of these as a part of your program. You had set your GPS before, so we're constantly going to kind of have that in the background. That's going to be our foundation. That's going to tell us where we're going and if we're getting there. But we want to have good strategies, okay? We can't just sit there and say, I want to be stronger, but we're not making time to go to the gym. We're just saying, oh, well, my strategy is I'll think I'm stronger. That doesn't work. So you want to have some good strategies. You want to work on your training. So, the training is a part of it. What training do I need to get to my vision? I need strength. I need endurance. And now I'm thinking I need balance. So I'm going to start building balance into my training regimen. Okay, and then rest. And that's the rest between sets. That's the rest between workouts. Making sure you're getting adequate rest is very, very important. The next is energy. So thinking of the food and water that I take in as the source of energy that's going to allow me to do the work, that's going to allow me to live the lifestyle I want to live, that's going to get me to the vision I want to have. So I want to focus on my energy and make sure that I do think of food and water as an energy source, and that's where my focus is on how I'm taking those in. And then next is education. So constantly doing things to kind of understand, what does good form look like? What's a good workout that I could do to accomplish this thing? All of those different things in there. So, you might want to try something a little bit more functional. You might want to do something like, I'm going to be doing balance work. So I'm going to be doing some research to truly understand what are some of the best balance exercises I could do. I'm studying now for a functional fitness cert, so I can be have a little bit more education on that area. I've done some functional fitness, but I want to do a little bit more, so I'm diving a little bit deeper into that topic, and that will be something that will drive what I'm doing this year. And then there's the time, and that is just where you have to have the patience, you have to be persistent, you have to progress, and then you have to recognize that it's not going to be linear. You're going to have some plateaus, and being able to mentally push through those plateaus is very, very important. And then finally is the stress management. Getting through and making sure that you're resting your body, that your body is not in a constant state of stress, and that you're letting the little things roll off, because they're all pretty much little things when it all comes to it, because we've set this GPS, because we have this vision. All this other stuff is fodder. It doesn't matter. Let's focus on what we can control, and let's go do that. So I do hope that you've enjoyed the streets aspect of this and what is entailed in doing the journey. And it's not a simple do this, then that will happen. It really is thinking through these and having plans and sometimes changing those plans, but always, always, always taking this journey, everything we do about this journey, and taking it back to the GPS and aligning it with our commitment, aligning it with our goals, and making sure that all works for us. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we complete the 5-part Wellness Roadmap series. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.